into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Micheal Pope.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you out there in the Life is a Sacred Journey neighborhood. It is my honor as your host, Micheal Pope, to be with you here every single Friday morning at 8 a.m. We've been doing this for a really long time, and I want to thank Felicia. I want to thank everybody out there in the virtual neighborhood that continues to come back every single Friday morning at 8 a.m. And we're excited. I'm in the process of designing a new background for us. I'm working with a designer to do that so that we have a look that's not my office and getting a background that we're moving forward to that. We're not going to change the format. We're not trying to become glitzy. We just want to make it so that there's a separation between my office and Life is a Sacred Journey. So welcome. My name is Micheal Pope, and wow, I can't believe I just started my 26th year here at ASEB, Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, and I'm just so thankful for the opportunity given to me by Karen Grimsich when she hired me as a program director that many years ago, and for the many of positions that I've had. And I also, as I told you last week, I'm very thankful to Lance Reynolds. He mentored me, and he was the one that really pushed me forward to be the executive director. Well, with Karen, I moved into executive director when she left. And then when Lance became the board president, not that there weren't great board presidents, because there were, that taught me and worked with the agency, but he was the board president that came on for 9 years. And so in that 9-year period, we became friends. He helped me to understand, advocacy and the importance of it, all those kinds of things. So I'm just really thankful. I'm celebrating my life here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. I think it's coming to an end. It's not like right in this second, not in this moment, but I am in the middle of a succession plan to move forward and bring in new team, new staff. If there are people out there that are looking for positions to stay and move into that succession plan, please get in contact with me and let me know. We have a variety of positions open at this time, and we're in need of some folks that really want to work in long-term care. And reach out to me if you're interested, particularly if you're a physical therapist or occupational therapist, a psychologist, a social worker. We need all those things right now here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. Remember, we are a nonprofit. So if you're coming here, you're coming to a nonprofit, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to get paid and all those kinds of things, but realize we cannot compete with Kaiser and Sutter and all those people. So that's my ad for today. So if you're joining us for the first time, you've joined us at Life is a Sacred Journey. Our platform is that we have guests that come in and share books and ideas, and we're about mindfulness, we're about caregiving, we're about being the change that we want to see in the world. So welcome. If it's your first time, and if you're coming back, thank you. I have to put a shout out to Stuart Furman. Stuart Furman, as you well know, because he's been on Life is a Sacred Journey and was on it even back when we were doing Blog Talk Radio at that time. And he came on then, and then he wrote his book and it has a workbook with it. Stuart, if you're there, write it in the chat. But now he's working on his second book, and he sent me an excerpt from it, and I haven't had a chance to get back to him. But this is a man who was a caregiver with his mom and learned some valuable things, has a legal wisdom in him as an attorney and all those kinds of things. So when he's writing, he's really sharing through his experience. So we're going to get Stuart back on when the book hits, and then he can talk about his first book and the workbook, and then the book that he is is working on now. But thank you, Stuart Furman, for one, following Life is a Sacred Journey. He's been a keynote speaker at one of our events at Alzheimer's Services. But thank you for being my friend, and I will get back to you. And thank you for entrusting me, for sending me that excerpt. So today is a pondering for those of you. We have ponderings where it's just me and not other folks coming on. And so this morning, I thought I would talk to you a little bit, one about what's happening in California, and then also using AARP information to tell you what we're looking at around changing the world of caregiving across the United States. If you are a caregiver, get a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, or make sure that you send this to someone who is a caregiver if you're in the state of California, and even if you're not, pass it on, because maybe you can become an advocate if these policies do not exist in your state. So welcome again to Life is a Sacred Journey. I am happy to be here with you this morning. Welcome, sending you a big hug. So the first thing, these all went into effect as of January 1, 2023. The first one is the new leave benefit options to caring for chosen family. Keyword, chosen family. It's called AB 1041. And now you may take 12 weeks of unpaid leave or use paid sick leave, because you always were able to do that, to care for extended or chosen family. Extended or chosen family is defined as any individual related by blood, so a cousin, or whose association with the employee is equivalent of a family relationship. To use these benefits, you may request a leave directly from your employer. So I love this because I have chosen family members. Some of you out there are my chosen family members. And I love now that is in there, because that means if something happens to Auntie KK or Auntie Stacy or somebody who needs me that are aunties by chosen life, I can say I'm going to take 12 weeks off to support this chosen family member and their family. And I love that. So that's AB 1041, and that went into effect January 1. So we're a little behind, but it's good for you to know. Designating healthcare surrogates, that's AB 2338. If your care recipient lacks the capacity to make a healthcare decision, but does not have a legally recognized healthcare decision maker, a healthcare provider may choose a surrogate to make healthcare decisions on the patient's behalf. The patient's surrogate shall be an adult who has demonstrated special care and concern for the patient. So they've been coming for the doctor's appointments. They've been the one that's been there when the person is talking to the doctor in the virtual appointment. They've been the ones that help them through the phone calls. People know them. But they don't know the relationship. They just know, wow, this person is really there for them. So they're a surrogate caregiver. The patient surrogate shall be an adult, as I just said, and has demonstrated special care and concern for that individual, is familiar with the patient's personal values and beliefs to the extent known, and is reasonably available and willing to serve. A surrogate may be chosen from the following persons. So listen up. A spouse or domestic partner, an adult child, a parent of the patient, an adult sibling of the patient, an adult grandchild of the patient, and an adult relative or close personal friend. So again, we're expanding where caregiver landed. Caregiver usually landed, as you heard, it's still the same, spouse, adult child, but then we're expanding it so that those individuals that not only support the caregiver as a surrogate caregiver when they're sick or whatever, they can be recognized and that they can speak on behalf and walk with. It's still important to have all the documents, and when Stuart comes on, we'll have him go over all of that. But all those documents, durable power of attorney for health, all those kinds of things, important to have. But now we have laws that will protect caregivers and their surrogates. The next is probate conservatorship reforms, and that's AB 1663. This bill established supported decision-making as an alternative to probate conservatorship. This is a process in which adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities or dementia who need support to care for themselves or their finances consult with trusted supporters while making choices about their life, choices about what's going to happen when I no longer can remember, when I no longer know where my bank account is or my insurance papers. How is that going to happen? And this can be done without jeopardizing their self-determination. I love this because the conservatorship means I can still be engaged regardless of my mental and cognitive capacity. And I like it because it ensures that anybody who is a conservator is talking to that person and not just assuming they can't participate in the conversation. And maybe being active listeners to hear what their response really, really is. So I love this probate conservatorship reforms. They also say the bill also requires that alternatives to conservatorship are included for consideration in a petition for conservatorship and requires courts to provide conservatees with information regarding the rights they retain. And under AB 1663, courts are also allowed to terminate a conservatorship without a hearing if both the conservatee and the conservator agree to the termination. Again, that's AB 1663. This is just some brief from Family Caregiver Alliance. Thank you, Family Caregiver Alliance, for this information, but you can go back and look these up and get more detail to see how they affect your unique situation. Nursing home grievance. I was on the Ombudsman Board for Alameda County for a couple of years when Lance was actually the president of the Ombudsman group here in Alameda County. And oh my gosh, the work of the Ombudsman is so important. If you are looking for volunteer opportunities and you have retired, becoming an Ombudsman is one of the most incredible volunteerism opportunities for you. That means you go into a facility, you go in to make sure that certain standards are being met. When you walk in, that you're not smelling the ammonia of urine everywhere, that staff are talking to people, that they're engaging with people. You have the opportunity to work closely with administrators of those organizations or those facilities to help them with their culture change and person-centered care, all of that. So look into that. Every county has an ombudsman group. And if you're really looking for something extra to do as you are living in your season of retirement, I would suggest to become an ombudsman. There's incredible training that you can learn about, and then you belong to a group of people that are turning the needle by becoming an ombudsman. That doesn't demean the other volunteer opportunities, but we are specifically talking about right now nursing home grievances, and that's AB 895, AB 895. And it says, if you're looking at skilled nursing facilities or intermediate care facilities, these facilities are required, here's the operative word, required, to provide written contact information for the Ombudsman program and related websites so that you can learn more about residential care in the facility and find out how to report a complaint. There now is new policies in the state of California impacting that. That was always the case. There should have been a poster with a 1-8, all that. But at the end of the day, now AB 895 makes it mandatory for a skilled nursing facility, intermediate care facilities to say, we have a written contact information. It's available for the Ombudsman program. It's available to you, and we have it even on our website so that you can access it. So that's a good one. When I was an ombudsman, that was not the case. Long-term care insurance premiums. This is a big one. AB 2604. AB 2604. Policyholders and certificate holders of long-term care insurance must be offered various options. If a premium increases, including the option to reduce the daily benefit, has to be added. So they can't just take your long-term, because there was a time that insurance companies were marketing long-term care insurance, right? And a lot of people got long-term care insurance. And then as they began to realize that things like dementia, Alzheimer's were a part of that long-term care insurance, that it meant that people were really going to use those benefits long-term. It's amazing what the insurance companies do. They stop offering it, or the rates went up so high that people could no longer afford it. So this AB 2604 says policy holders and certificate holders must be offered various options if they already have a policy in hand, certificate in hand, to the premium increases. They must be offered, including the option to reduce their daily benefit, meaning if they were going to use it, or if they get to use it, that in order to keep their rates the same and manageable, that the daily benefit would decrease a little bit, and maybe they would have to come out of pocket more, family might have to help more, whatever it may be. But now they can't just do it to you. So I'm excited about AB 2604. And bereavement leave is the last policy that I want to talk about here. Bereavement leave is AB 1949, and employees at companies with 5 or more employees are now required to receive 5 days of bereavement leave with at least 3 days paid. So we're going to have to change our policy here at ASEB. We've had 3 days of bereavement where people get paid, but now it's 5 days of bereavement with 3 days paid. That is really great, because as I said, I think a long time ago, I have memories, data banks of things that I say, but most of my family that have passed away and have been back east. And so 3 days was never enough. So I always took vacation time on top of it, because I had to have travel time, get there for the stuff. And I always was the one to get flying out that night, instead of staying for the family stories, the family molding together, rebuilding the family after a loss of a family member. 5 days gives you a little bit more time. With 3 days of it paid, you can take the other 2, maybe work it out with your employer that it's vacation time, so that you can get paid for the whole time. But at least that AB 1949 really helps to make that possible for you. So I want to thank all of the individuals and the groups, the organizations, the Senior Service Coalition here in Alameda County that is facilitated and fostered by Wendy Peterson. I want to thank the state group that looks at all of the policies, and justice and aging, all of the groups, including individuals that made all of these 6 that I read, the new leave benefit options to care for chosen family, AB 1041, designating healthcare surrogates, AB 2338, probate conservatorship reforms, AB 1663, nursing home grievances, AB 895, long-term care insurance, AB 2604, and bereavement leave, AB 1949. I will be sharing these with all of our family members in a newsletter, so that they know. And so please share with others. If you're hearing this for the first time, share it with the groups that you're in. If you belong to the United Methodist Church's Women in Faith, share it with the women. Any family, any people, if you are pastors out there that are listening to this, go to the Family Caregiver Alliance, or you can put in California Caregiving 2023 in California, and Family Caregiver Alliance will come up under caregiving.org, and then you'll get this wonderful 2 sheets of paper. You can copy them back to back, so it's 1 sheet of paper, and distribute it. I keep saying as a faith-based person, I keep saying faith-based communities need to become more involved in the community and share what's happening in the community to their congregation so that they become more aware and they can get involved in the advocacy of their neighborhood, community, and state. So thank you very much for allowing me to share that information with you. I hope it is helpful and that it will help you to guide the conversations in the spaces that you're in. If you're in a neighborhood where, again, you belong to the Berkeley Lions or Lions Club or any of it, Toastmasters, all of it, share it. Because I bet you in the majority of the groups that I know that I'm in, the landscape are, most of those individuals are caregivers or probably will be caregivers at some time. So let's prepare people and let them know what's out there for them. Thank you. So the other top priorities, I went to AARP. I am an AARP member. Thank you for all the AARP discounts. If you're not an AARP member, and I think it's over the age of 55, become one. Get your AARP card. The magazine is amazing. There's discounts everywhere that you can use, travel, renting cars, hotel, all kinds of things. There's no shame to the game to being over 50. There's a lot of benefits. I found out that Ross has a senior day. I don't know if they still do because I haven't been shopping in a store for over a year. I'm trying. I'll talk about that another show, like shopping, like for myself to buy items. I'm not spending money. And this year in 2024, I've made the decision I'm only going to spend money on what I need and not on things that I want, because sometimes I want things that I don't need. I may every once in a while buy a little trinket like some candles or something like that. But what I'm saying is like that spontaneous purchasing where because I'm bored or because remember we talked about addictions a couple of podcasts ago, and that is my addiction. When I'm upset, depressed, not motivated, feel like I've lost my way, not only is it my spiritual life, I cling to that very heavily, but I can go into it. I can roam through stores for hours. I've gotten really good at being able to roam through the store without shopping because I'm on a mission about credit cards and money, and we'll talk about that another pondering. But yeah, I really think that we have to look at all the things in our life, and caregiving is one of those things that we all may be a caregiver at one point, as I said last week, and probably many times before. So as we're looking at top priorities that AARP is looking at in the caregiving landscape nationwide and worldwide, because they're involved in the world conversation about our aging, or what they call the graying of America or the graying of the world. I don't like those comparisons, but basically we're aging in place as what we should be doing, aging in place. And now we're deciding to create communities that really recognize that and acknowledging that through science and lifestyle changes, there's people living to be 100, 105, 110, all of that. And so the reality is the systems have to be able to manage that, to be able to be available to people. And it can't become the cocktail champagne service where only those that can afford, which is always the way, right? If you can afford the best care, you get it. If you can afford the best assisted living, you can get it. But if you have no money and you're only living off of I just got my Social Security thing in the mail yesterday. I guess I'm on my soapbox because of it. And I looked at how much money that I have earned since they have me starting earning money, because I started being a wage earner at 16. I have earned a lot of money. But when I look at what they're going to, and I went back and I looked at how much they took from me, which is fine, because do whatever you need to do with it. But I questioned how much I'm getting back from it. And because I wasn't that individual, a lot of people say, well, you need to invest and you need to think about your retirement. Yes, and yes, and yes. But at the end of the day, I'm not one of those people. I had a family to raise on one income. I had all kinds of colleges to support on one income, all of that. And so when we say stuff like that, who are we talking to? Are we talking to the whole society? No, you're not, because not everybody had that kind of job. I never had a county job where they guarantee you a certain amount of retirement funds. I worked for corporations for many years in the beginning of my career, but then I came to a nonprofit. There is no retirement. I have a 403B, but I have to be able to put into that. And there were some years that I didn't put into that. So when we make assumptions that people have the ability to retire in ways that are really grandiose and wonderful, we need to stop that, because that's not true. Even those of us that continually working, I've been working the whole time since 16, never stopped, even for pregnancies, only took 3 months off and then went back to work. Okay. So at the end of the day, who I am and how I live my life may not mirror what the American dream is. You know, the American dream says I should have this, this, and this, and this, and be able to do this and this and this. Not necessarily so. So we need to have systems in place that help people on a tier systematic level to help them where they are, and not telling people what they should be doing when we know that we have more people living below the poverty level, that now we have low. On the forms that I fill out now, there's low income, and now there's low income, like below the poverty level. And there's more, that percentage of people living there is becoming higher and higher. There are more homeless seniors in our communities across the United States than we've had even during the Depression. Because the one thing we did have, and during the Depression, was, do you know why convalescent facilities started? To help the seniors that during the Depression didn't have anybody. They were awful places because, again, when you think that you're doing something for people that they didn't pull themselves up by their bootstraps, we have a tendency as humanity to treat them as if they're dirt. But again, that's how that movement started, convalescent facilities, or nursing homes, they were called at that time. And so as we move into 2023 and we realize now we have a system where people, family members, neighbors, people down the street are caring for people who need care in their elder years, in their winter season, in the times when they're disabled and cannot do for themselves. We need to have opportunities for individuals to be cared for in the home, in their neighborhoods. And so that's why all of the bills that I just read to you were so important, because they're supporting caregivers. I know there's tax laws that are now being looked at to help caregivers and to support them in bigger ways. But let's listen to what AARP is looking at, and maybe there's, you can join these movements. So AARP is saying that they want to make providing care easier, including through expansion of resource navigation tools, caregiver training, as well as the increased access to care at home and other supports. So here at Alzheimer's Services, we are that one of those things where we're one of those resources that allow people that live with Alzheimer's and dementia and mental health to remain at home, cared for by family members, and then the family member gets respite because the benefit is a 4-hour benefit, adult day health care, CBAS, community-based adult services in California. And then 4 hours of respite for the caregiver to either go to work, so it's not respite really, go to work, or if they are a retired caregiver or a caregiver that lives at home, to have that 4 hours to go to the doctor, get respite, get their hair done, get nails done, be a human being that's focused on self instead of focusing outward on their loved ones. So they get that 4 hours. If they're private pay, they get a little bit more. And that's, again, you see the disparity in the system, and I'm participating in it. If you are Medi-Cal managed care, You're only allowed 4 hours is a day of service. If you can pay for it, you can get what you want. I'm not judging it in the sense that I didn't make the rules, but it's kind of weird when you're an older person and maybe you've been working, because that's what I was looking at last night thinking, I've been working my whole life. And if I get an indigent and I didn't have kids, this money that they're saying they're going to give me per month would not allow me to stay in my home. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's why we call this pondering. I'm asking you to ponder these things. And instead of comparing your blessing, success, privilege to what's happening in the masses, look and walk a mile, empathy, walk a mile in another person's shoe. And maybe we need to be advocating for more bills that will help ensure that our tax dollars are being used to support individuals who need it. Instead of a nonprofit like Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay that has struggled to get through the pandemic, still had to pay the state of California $10,000 to have a little piece of paper on the wall that says that we're approved by them. I'm just saying. These are my ponderings. I'm not judging them. I'm just wondering if there's 300 and something adult day health cares in the state of California. I'm not sure if that's the number anymore. But if we're all paying $10,000 a year, wow! Even if it's only 100. And then only being reimbursed $76, $77 to care for the ones that are the invisible ones. So again, you see what I'm talking about? I'm talking about a systematic train of how we look at those that have, those that need, and those that are invisible to us, and those that we think they should have done better in their lives. So paradigms. So AARP is looking to providing expansion in resources and caregiver training, caregiver toolkits, online trainings. I know ASEB is going to start to do more online caregiver workshops so that people can pay a small fee and we can give them a wealth of information for it. And again, the fee is for administrative, to cover the administrative cost of it, not to make a living and for anybody to pay for my house. Alleviate the financial challenges faced by many family caregivers that can undermine their own well-being, including better access to respite care, paid leave, and family care tax credit and reimbursement programs. In-home support services right now is fighting IHSS to increase the rate of pay for the caregivers in that program. Some of them are family caregivers, some of them are not, and increase the pay so that they can have continuity of care, that you can have people who feel a sense of pride in their work, and attract more people to the caregiving model. So that's wonderful. And I hope that we can be a part of that. ASEB can be a part of that, not only in receiving funding, but supporting those reimbursement programs, because that's so important, not just to paid caregivers, non-family and friend, but caregivers who have chosen caregiving as a career. We want to improve the health and well-being of family caregivers, many of whom have seen their own personal situations worsen, including their needs for assessment and other tools. And we will strive to ensure that all communities gain the support that they need. That's AARP. That's why I think twice a year, we used to do it more often and we probably should. We send out a caregiver survey, stress survey to our caregivers. We don't know if they take it, and it's not important. We send it as an opportunity for them to self-monitor, their own stress so that they can be engaged in that stress, talk to their doctor, and have a better conversation and fuel conversation that will help improve their health and their experience as a caregiver. Specifically at the federal level, AARP feels that this is a unique time and a time-sensitive opportunity to make significant differences in the lives of Americans, over 48 million family caregivers, by putting into action the National Strategy to Support Family Caregivers, which was delivered to Congress last September 2022. This strategy stemmed from the Raise Family Caregivers Act, championed by AARP, and was developed with wide-ranging stakeholder input. ASEB was a part of the stakeholder input, I'm happy to say, and it includes nearly 350 tangible actions that the federal government can take now, and more than 150 that can be adopted by stakeholders and other levels of government to give family caregivers the help they so desperately need. So there is a lot going on at around the country and in your state, and particularly here in California, to support caregivers, to ensure that they get what they need so that they can care for those that they love. I want to just say, I'm not dinging anybody who worked hard and was able to save money and to do the things that they needed to do to ensure that their life, when they were in the winter season, retirement, whatever it is, was one that they could say, I've done well and I can care for myself. But please know, not every individual, not every citizen of the United States of America has had that opportunity given to them, awarded them, or even had the understanding, because maybe they grew up in a culture where they're now the first. So let's be more loving in our words when we vote or when we choose to say where our tax dollars go. They can take the taxes that they take from me. They take a lot of them as a single woman. But at the end of the day, my problem with it is you're not serving the people that I serve with my tax dollars. That I don't fight that when you take them. But what I'm upset about is when I see a woman that's the same age as me living on the concrete ground right up the street from my office, and she's allowed to do so. That's what my pondering is all about. So thank you for coming to Life is a Sacred Journey. I hope that I gave you some information this morning that you will be willing to share with others. I hope I've given you some information that you will be willing to ponder yourself. And never in judgment, people. I'm not judging anyone with the life decisions or the opportunities that they have had. I've had tremendous opportunities. I consider myself to be privileged. Yeah, even now at this age, I'm still privileged because through the grace of the world and God, I still have my brain. I'm able to do certain things. I'm still learning. I still can move, even though I've got arthritis in one knee and sciatic. I'm still able to get up and move around. So I'm privileged. But there are those of us out there that are aging in place, that cannot have what I have, that don't even have the dream of achieving some of the things that I have achieved. And I'm saying, let's help people to dream again. And let's take care of those individuals who need us the most right now. And that is our homeless seniors, our young people that are homeless because they aged out of the foster system, a new bill that will be coming before you to vote here in the state of California to extend their benefits until 26. Get involved. Know what's happening up there in Sacramento. Know who you're voting for and what you stand for, and then hold them accountable. Because without these bills, without these policies, we go into a state of chaos and we don't serve the people who need us most. So thank you for coming to Life is a Sacred Journey. Thank you for being a part of our virtual neighborhood family. And I hope that the information that we share with you, that you are able to take it back and share it with others. We hope that it's helpful to you as you navigate this caregiving journey, if you're in it, or that you'll put it away and use it if you should ever need it for yourself, a neighbor, a friend, or even a stranger, just because you were sitting next to them in the airport and they said, I'm a caregiver. So we end our podcast every week this way. If you are out there in the world feeling any sense of depression, anxiety, grief, or pain that you cannot control, that keeps bubbling up and making you feel like you want to end your life, text or call 988. I always look down to make sure I got it right, is the suicide hotline. There are people on the other end that will text you back. There are other people on the other end that will say hello. And I've heard they have increased the volume of what they're getting. And I think 988 is just so easy to remember. I hope that Life is a Sacred Journey is playing a role in that, and that we are saving lives. Because at the end of the day, as bad as this world gets, because it gets bad, it's ugly, and yes, sometimes it doesn't see you. There's days that will come if you can hang in there and get the support and the resources that you need. Know that you are cared about. The Life is a Sacred Journey family cares about you. I care about you. I don't have to know you. I don't even ever have to meet you. I want you to know I think about all of you that are out there in the world suffering because of humanity's lack of respect for humanity. Because we should have these policies a long time ago. We shouldn't be just getting them on the docket. And we shouldn't need policies to teach us how to take care of each other. But we do. 988. That's a phone number you can call and know that you are loved and know that it can get better. And I pray that it will for you. And please do not take your life. You matter. You matter to me, and you matter to the Life is a Sacred Journey. And I'm a nobody. I'm nobody. And I don't even know you, but you matter to me. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. It's cold and rainy and snowing in California. Oh my God. Okay, so it's time for me to go back east. If it's going to snow here in California, the very reason that I moved here, I'm ready to move back home. If that's what it's going to do here, because that's why I moved here. So if I might as well go back to my roots. So anyway, have a wonderful weekend. I hope you snuggle up to yourself. If you're like me, a single person, snuggle up, get a blanket. Get your little cat or your dog on your lap, rub them because they like to snuggle too. But love yourself, dear world, and know that you matter, that there's no human being on the face of the planet that has the right to tell you you don't matter for any reason, because you do. And you matter because you're here. And you're here because you have a purpose. And if we all come together, maybe we can all figure out why we're here, and we can live out our purpose, live out our dreams and hopes, and become the miracles that we need to be for each other. Have a good weekend. Peace.